Hi, it's Nancy. Welcome to Gardens Grow. So part of gardening is also thinking ahead, and I'm thinking that next year I would like to try some begonias or some impatiens in these two little pots. They get quite a bit of shade, a little bit of sun, and though they look nice, I just want the bloom. I think I want some bloom in them. And right here's an example of what the begonias can do. I love this begonia, and I also love the one that hangs down a little bit more, which actually it didn't make it for me except this little one right here, and it doesn't happen to have blooms on it right now. But anyway, this begonia leaf gets so big and pretty and shiny, and then it has these pretty little bloom on it also. So since I didn't have much luck at all with my calabachoa, I thought I wanted them here. They would be beautiful, beautiful blooms if I could get them to keep going all summer, but so far I can't. So I'm going to try, I think, to have some impatiens and or begonias in these little pots next year. And there's some of the impatiens. Here's some more, the pretty lipstick pink impatiens. And here's a pretty pink and a pretty coral impatient. Here's some more of the light pink with the deep dark fuchsia pink impatiens. So those are just some examples that I think I want to put in with some. I still want to keep some of this coleus, of course, in the pots with them, but I think some pretty bloom in with them would just add a lot to it. And these two little plants, I went ahead and separated them and put them, they had grown together, but grown up together, but I'm going to take this one little plant right here is my sister's anyway. I got that specifically for her, and I asked her if she wants this one and this one, which is a variegated red pendulous hibiscus. So she said yes, she did. So she will have those, and they will look beautiful. And she does wonderful with house plants. I guess Clifton is the prince, and Rose is the. That just sounded funny for me to say Rose, because I don't do that. My sister is Rosie to me, so Rosie is the princess. And also, I looked up on Google, when should I take my houseplants in? I don't want to take them in ever because I don't do well with houseplants, and they seem to do so well out here. But I do know they're going to die if I leave them out here, and I don't want that. So if I take them in, they at least have a fighting chance. So I'm definitely wanting to take them in, like this beautiful Gerber daisy. I want to take that one inside. This beautiful Esperanza with this one stem so far out from the other. I think I need to clip that one off and see if I can root it and get it started as another plant. Not that I have any room for even the ones I have. I'll have to stack on top of each other, but that's another story. So right now I was going with bringing them in, and another reason I always hesitate to bring them in is how I love this lush full look where things are just stacked on top of each other looking gorgeous. But I do want to take them in. For sure I want to take them in. There's no question about it at all. But also earlier in the season, I had little places that I didn't know where I was going to put things, so I just put them in little pots over here. Just clustered them around everything else over here. But I'm thinking that's going to be the perfect thing. It's going to be an answer to what I need anyway. It's because I can put these little pots over in the area where I had these others. Once I take these inside, because I won't take this one inside probably. I might, but I probably won't. I'll probably just clip some of it back and put it in a glass in the window and keep it that way. But I'll definitely take these others in, and instead of leaving just a bare spot where they were, I think I'll put some of these little pots that I just clustered up over here, because I didn't really know what else to do with those little plants, and I didn't want them to die. And also this little plant right here, my Angelonia Cynotia, or I'm sorry, not Angelonia, but Angel Wings Cynotia. It kind of pulled itself out of, pulled its root out of the pot. So I actually have repotted that a little, put it down deep in there, and hopefully it will come out of it. But you can tell right now it's looking very wilty. I hope it will make it. That's another one I'll want to bring inside if it will make it. And then there's one right behind it there. But instead of having all these bare spots this year, once I take them in, I think I'm going to have little pots to replace all those, and they'll still have that pretty stacked look that I like. So I don't remember if I got back to you on what I found out about when I should bring my houseplants in. And what I learned is 45 degrees will begin to kill the root. So I know I've left them out to 47 degrees, but I don't think that's a good idea. I think probably 50 degrees. When it starts to get in the 50s, it's probably time to bring those inside. So I'm going to try to get those in a little earlier than I did last year, although it didn't seem to hurt them other than they did drop leaves. But mine seem to always drop leaves, so we'll see if I can do any better with them this year. The main thing is just to save them. If I can save them through the winter and bring them back out and let them be pretty again in the garden, that's my main goal. And I've told you that I am getting a little bit better at saving them through the winter. I hope that's true, not just a fluke last year that I was able to save some that I normally don't. But what I've learned is, for the things that I have learned, is I was overwatering, which people told me that I probably was, because that's the main thing that happens for houseplants to die, is that they're overwatered. But I was told to just water them until it runs out the bottom, and then just water them every week. So that's what I was doing, and actually that was too much. I guess when it runs out the bottom was like I just kept pouring until it did run out the bottom, and it must have meant just pour a little and then see if it'll run out the bottom, because actually about a cupful and more or less, depending on how soggy your soil gets, how well it drains and all that. Just be sure you don't overwater is probably the main thing, but do give them some water probably each week, at least every other week. And just like start with a half a cup, depending on how small your pot is, because you don't want a full cup on the same size of pot as a large pot as you do on a small pot. So just kind of gauge that the way you normally would, and just don't put so much. That's what I've learned, just not to put quite as much water as I was putting on them, but keep it consistent as much as possible. And then also I've learned on my begonias that they actually want to dry out. They want to actually dry out between waterings. Don't leave them so dry for so long, but let them dry out a bit before you actually put some more water on them. That's how I was able to keep this beautiful Polymer Prince begonia. And you'll actually learn as you keep trying, although I know I kept trying for so long I didn't think I could ever do it. But just keep trying. That's my main advice, is just to keep trying. I've done that with plants, planting them, not being able to get a good start of something. But if I kept on trying, sometime it was the third or fourth try that they actually began to get established. And once they're established, it seems like they easily come back. So today I'm planning and thinking about bringing plants in, which that will be still a while before that happens, but it seems once it starts happening it moves pretty fast, so I want to get as much done as I can. Have to show you another shot of this beautiful blue butterfly plant that I purchased mine from Logees, Logees. And they have some beautiful plants, so this is absolutely one of my favorites. Looks just like little blue butterflies in flight. It didn't bloom last year, so I'm so glad it bloomed this year. I think that perhaps I cut off the bloom. I know some plants that you don't want to trim them off until after they bloom, and this one I did last year trim it off and try to get some starts from it. So I think it may be better not to trim it off until well, maybe right after it blooms. Most things that are blooming plants, you can trim them off right after they bloom and they'll come back because they still have time to set their bloom. But I'm not sure about this one exactly how or when to do that. And like I said, my Esperanza plant did not bloom this year. So, and it bloomed last year with lots of pretty yellow blooms. So, it's still May. I haven't given up on it yet. There's still plenty of time for it to bloom. So it may still bloom. I'm thinking about cutting this part of this off and trying to reroot it down probably in the same pot, or I actually may put this in a bigger pot anyway and just make one little plant out of it, make it a bushier plant. I did a little bit of rooting it's still probably too hot. You can see this one little red coleus is leaning over, but I just had to go ahead and try. I'm just rushing fall to be here, but it is coming. I know it now. So I mean, it may still be another couple of weeks of 90s, but they're going down into the lower 90s, and it's getting warm or cooler at night and in the morning, so it won't be very long now. So I did snip a few off of this one so you could see the little girl's face in here, and I wish I had planted this pretty trailing vinca or periwinkle on the front side. I may actually end up taking that off and putting it over there, but it still looks pretty good. I love this pretty little lantana. Still want to get some of this grass up and put some in a pot and just get it out of in front of this little pot right here so you can see it better. But I do love this grass. I'll find some spot to put it. This is another one that I evened up a little bit. Put a few more coleus clippings, and I probably need one right there also. I may end up putting one there. This one is doing really well. It hasn't faded or wilted over, so hopefully it won't, but this is still morning, so we'll see what the rest of the day might bring. And then this little one, I also kind of evened it up. I snipped some off the top here and put it down here in front of the pot, and I think that's going to look better too. And then this one, I put a few more little coleus clippings in there, and I'm not sure if you can see them without me kind of helping you there, but I think they will go ahead and grow up and add to this little pot, making it fuller and prettier. This little pot, I added a few coleus clippings into it too to make it more full. I think it will be prettier this way. And this little pot got some color added to it too, and I clipped down I had one of these that came up volunteer in there, and it was just too tall. I actually left it in there, but I did clip it way down. I don't know if it'll put on any more flower or not, but I wanted some color in this little pot. For some reason, it's one of my favorites. And I think because one year I grew blue verbena in there, and it just did so well, and I loved it, which my verbena didn't do very well in it this time at all. But I don't think there's even any in there right now. There's a little bit of alyssum in there, but anyway, I think it looks a lot better, and hopefully these, if they don't wilt down too much, I hope they'll just keep going and not wilt at all. I really thought I would have got a lot more done than I did, but I got a little done. I'm going to try to do some more today. I clipped back a little from this pot that was over in this little angel's face, and just put the little clippings of it down at the bottom around it, so I think it looks a lot better. And I clipped some of this coleus back. I haven't really done that much to this little pot yet, and I may not. It looks pretty good the way it is, but we'll see. I may can fix it where you can see the little garden art in it a little bit better. I cleared out all the flowers that weren't white in my little white and green pot, and I need something white and green to go right here or I might can just thin some of that out and divide it and put something there in the front. Probably this pretty little dianthus. I clipped a little out of this one and put it over on the side, evened it out a bit, but I'm still not quite satisfied with this one for its fall. It'll be alright if I don't get around to it, but I don't know what I really need. A little something different, I think, in there. And then this one might be the biggest change, this one right here. It looks now where you can just look out here and see all this color that's so bright and pretty, and when before it was all scraggly looking. And I clipped out some of the sweet potato vine that the leaves were just so grasshopper eaten, and I think it looks a lot better. And although I did put my boots on, I did not get this area cleaned out at all, and I still want to do that. That's the main thing I want to do today, is to come in and get some of the dead stuff out, tie up my dahlias, and get to where I can get to them better so I can clip them back so that they can bloom again, the big pretty blooms, after the old blooms have faded. So this will be a before. This poor little peony needs clipping back, I guess. I usually leave them up through the winter, but usually they're a lot prettier than that too. They just got so scorched. But this will be the before picture for cleaning all this out. I'm going to clean some of this out too. Even though I love my marigolds, I don't really want them growing that far outside of their little boundary. So I'm going to trim some of those back. I'm going to trim up and clean up this little area right here somewhat. I still want it to be full, but I don't want it to look like this. I hope I can get it to looking just a whole lot better by the end of this day. This is my ruffled pink Carolina hibiscus. It's a hardy hibiscus. It'll be back year after year. It dies all the way down to the ground and comes back, and they actually come back a little later than most of the spring plants do, but it'll be pretty every year. I was actually surprised at how long it took me just to add little clippings and redo little pots, which I still need to do these. I did get the dead Calabachoa out of this one, but it just really took a long time. I guess it's true that time goes faster when you're busy, and also when you're doing something you love. So that's probably one of my favorite things, is to just fix up a pot or in the spring and see what it's going to look like throughout the year, and then also just to redo one and see if I can get it looking pretty again. So it took a lot longer than I was expecting it to. But if I didn't get in too big of a hurry and do it before it's cool enough for them to live, I think I did make them look a lot better. Not necessarily this one. I haven't done more with it. I was just getting a picture of this pretty little angel for you. She's another favorite of mine. I always call her my depicting innocence angel. Here's some of the things you don't see. One thing, this little bloom that looks like the grasshoppers have eaten up, but it alerted me to this right here beside it, which is a elm tree growing up there, and I'm going to pull that up right now. So the elm tree is out, and this one right here beside it is actually the foliage of the clematis, and I know my clematis look horrible in the summertime. They just look very, very bad, but this is why I leave them, because when it just begins to get cooler again, they put on some of these beautiful little blooms. And also I leave them because I have found they live and do better if you just leave the foliage. Sometimes I will get out here and just kind of put these old dead ones between my hands and rustle them off, so you don't just see all this ugly part. I'm going to go back here so you'll remember this pretty little purple clematis rather than the old brown dead stuff. I'm having a hard time getting hydrangeas to get established and flourish in my garden. This little one was looking like it would just prefer to go ahead and quit. It was so wilty looking, and I couldn't keep it watered enough, and it just wasn't happy. But the slightly cooler weather, and it's just perked up so wonderfully. I had forgotten that the Weigela, and I may not be saying that right, but these are some pretty spring blooming bushes, but I had forgotten that they had berries on them. I wonder if the birds like those berries. I bet they do. This is the area where I cleaned out a bunch of the celotias. You can see all these tiny little ones trying to come back again. I'll have to chop them down too. But I still want some because they're just so pretty. And I haven't talked much about these little vines, but they are growing right up their trellises, and hopefully, I think that's as far as that one goes right there, but hopefully it won't be long to where I can come out here and show you. One of them is a tasseled passion flower, and the other is a pink passion flower. So I'm anxious for both of them to bloom, and I'll go over here and get this other one for you too. So this is the other one on these little thin trellises, which I love because I can put them in a pot, and then I can trim this vine off and take it inside and see if I can get that vine to live through the winter. That's my plan, and I certainly hope I can, because I forget which one of these are which, but both of the vines that I just mentioned are going to be gorgeous, and I can hardly wait for them to bloom. I don't know if they will, but I feel like there's plenty of time, and I feel like they will bloom this fall, and I'll get to show those to you. There's a blue jay out there. I tried to get its picture for you, but I couldn't, so I thought I would just let it holler so you can tell that it's out there. It was looking the pear tree over, which there's not a lot of pears left on it now. The bees and butterflies and mostly June bugs and the birds have taken about all of them. I did a little bit of trimming and moving coleus in this little pot behind this little angel swinging on the moon, and I'll go around to the other side and show you that, which I didn't do a whole lot, but I clipped off some of this darker coleus and put it down here, and I think it's going to look better there, and just a better blend of the green and the darker burgundy color. This is one of my favorite coleus too. I just love this dark color, all edged in that kind of a dark lime green. At some point, maybe this winter, I want to do a little clip about what worked and what did not work. Because I'm thinking when I said that's one of my favorite, my probably absolute favorite of the coleus is a small coleus. It's a trailing coleus, and it's called stained glass plum. And I've been able to keep a little piece of it going all through the winter and bring it back out, but this time it did not live. I brought it back out, and I was hoping for it, even praying for it, because it's really such a beauty, but it just didn't make it. So I think it's probably maybe God's way of telling me I need to get a new one next year. So hopefully I will be able to do that. Because I really don't want my garden to be without one. It's just such a favorite for me. I love it. Even in its being a smaller coleus, it shines as much as a large coleus, because I usually put it right here in this little pot, and that's where I tried it again. But I love this redhead coleus anyway, but I had put a little start of the and last year it did grow for me, but right in the front of it I had put a little start of the stained glass plum, and it just, I can't even describe it to you. I'm not even sure you could see the actual beauty of it if I put it on here. When I put it on here, you can tell it's very pretty, but it really, the sunlight and the different lighting it just gets more and more beautiful. The brighter the sun, the brighter it gets, and it truly looks like stained glass. It's so pretty. But my stained glass plum one did not work. This will be one of the ones that didn't. But there'll be lots that did. I love my Martha Stewart begonia here, but it didn't get very big for me. But it's its first year, so you know it could still be pretty again. My silver begonia, I really like it, and again it's been very small. I'm thinking that possibly the snails are feasting on it at times, but luckily for me they haven't taken it out yet, and I hope they never do. So I'm seeing that several more of these pretty little morning glories bloomed for me today. They're so pretty. I love the trim. The trim just makes the morning glory so much better. And this is another place I had tried before, and so I tried again to get coleus started, and you can tell they are wilted down, so they may not work here either until it gets cooler, but they may. Never give up on them when they're just first wilted, because they honestly can just if they get their root going, they'll pick that wilted plant up. Sometimes it'll go right on, and you won't even have to trim it off, but other times you will have to trim the wilted look off and let it start fresh from its root. But and if they don't work, just wait till it's cooler or you have a rain and try it again. Coleus are definitely some of the easiest plants to just dip their stem into a rooting powder, put in the ground, and keep them watered good, and they will live for you. Uh-oh, look what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that little snake I've been weary of, or one of them. I don't know if you can see it in here or not, but he's over there. So I thought I would show you my after shots at the end of the day. This is the debris that I took out of that one little area I was telling you about. And this is the area where I cleaned. So after I finished, I realized that it was looking bare, so I took some of those little pots of plants that I had started, that I just got through telling you I would put them, whenever I took my houseplants in, I put those in the empty spots they made. But I still think I have enough to put in the spots in the front, as well as I put these back here for the spots where I cleared out, and I still decided it was a little too empty once I got it cleared out. And I also put my pink Mandevilla vine right here, because when I cleared off my peony off of this little peony support, which was just all dead looking, looked really terrible, so I'm glad I took it off, but it made another bare spot that I decided to put this in front of it so that it doesn't look as bare. And then I also put some little pots on these little benches. And while I was clearing off this part, I found a new little clematis bloom. And I saw, let me go over here a little bit farther. Now the sun's in my eyes, so I can't see what I'm trying to show you. But it won't be long till we'll have two little clematis blooms here. I had taken this little pot and put it in this little seating area earlier, and so it was a bare spot back here, so I also added one of my pots from the front in this spot. So I think it looks pretty good. Looks much better than it did before. So I'm ready for the chrysanthemums to bloom. Looks like this one's going to be a pink daisy one, and then this one right behind it here is going to be a coppery yellow one, more copper than yellow actually. It's very pretty fall color. So I think it looks good. I think I'm proud. I know I'm proud that I got all that old dead stuff out and the stuff that was laying over and not looking good at all. I also noticed this little clematis over here has a bloom. It's not a very pretty bloom right now, but I think we'll have some more. There's a bud right there, and so maybe we'll have some pretty clematis blooms here before very long. If you enjoy Garden Scroll and taking scrolls in the garden with me, please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.